For my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, they are just like the gentry who can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Nukam kariti vachanam panguming langayate girim yad kripatam munde Shri Gurumdin Taranam. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we will continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, Change of Heart. Anybody wants to share anything if you remember something from this chapter? Last time we completed till verse number 10.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I remember that here Sukadev Goswami was saying that different demigods should be worshipped for different kinds of things. If you want to great hero, then you worship Shiva. And then if you want grains, then you worship Aditi and all. So here he was mentioning different demigods who should be worshipped if you have some material desires. But if you're desiring liberations without any material desire, then we should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That's what I remember, Mataji.
Yeah, akama sarva kama mokshkama dadi tivrena bhakti yogina yajeta purusham param. And what is the reason that Srila Prabhupada gives in the purport? Why does Sukadev Goswami speak like that? Anybody remembers?
No, Mataji, I don't remember.
Yeah, so multiple things actually. One thing is that Krishna does not give which is going to bring us back to this material world. Krishna, and I was telling some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I was not able to recall the number, so I actually found those. I will share 1 second. That what does Krishna do if we go with our material desire instead of going to demigods? If we go to Krishna, then what happens? Let me share with you. CC. It is in CC Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, and I think verse number 38 onwards, like few verses. Let me get it. Yeah. Yeah, here it is. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so here, CC Madhyat 22:38. Very, very beautiful few verses. So that's why I thought let's share. Krishna kahe ami bhaje mage vishya sukh amrit chhadi visha mage e bada murakh. So this is what Krishna is saying, that if we are engaging, Krishna says, if one engages in my transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he is just like a person who gives up ambrosia to drink poison. So that is like, meaning, if we go to demigods, demigods will fulfill our material desires, right? But Krishna is like this. If we engage in devotional service for getting some material benefits, then what is Krishna thinking, right? And then he says, Ami Vigya means he is very intelligent. Ami Vigya ei murakhe vishaya ke nediba savacharnamrita diya vishaya bhulaiva. So what is he saying? Since I am very intelligent, Krishna is very intelligent, why should I give this full material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. That is what happened to Dhruv Maharaj, right? When he said, whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill once, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, 19th chapter, verse 27. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so but he does not avoid anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in God's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. So that is why we should worship Krishna instead of the demigods, even if we have desires. When someone engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service for the satisfaction of the senses and instead acquires the taste for serving Krishna, he gives up his material desires and willingly offers himself as an eternal servant of Krishna. So that is the benefit of worshipping Krishna, right? So there is some more he speaks, but this is enough for our connection. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, anybody?
No, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, and then towards the end, Srila Prabhupada says that one can perform devotional service by hearing and chanting. Anybody can do that. We all hear, we all speak, right? So instead of speaking and hearing something other than Krishna, we can incline ourselves to hear about Krishna. So the greatest lesson so far in this canto is this, that we should, no matter what desire we have or not, we should worship Krishna. Actually, for that we should approach Krishna, not anybody else, right? Okay, let's go to verse number 11. Somebody wants to read?
I can read, Mataji.
Mhm.
Etavan eva yajatan iha nihish shreyasodayah bhagavatiya chalo bhavo yad bhagavata sangatah. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the different kinds of worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord. Purport. All living entities in different statuses of life within the material creation, beginning from the first demigod Brahma down to the small ant, are conditioned under the law of material nature, or the external energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity in his pure state is conscious of the fact that he is part and parcel of the Lord, but when he is thrown into the material world on account of his desire to lord it over material energy, he becomes conditioned by the three modes of material nature and thus struggles for existence for the highest benefit. This struggle for existence is something like following the will of the wisp under the spell of material enjoyment. All plans for material enjoyment, either by the worship of different demigods, as described in the previous verses of this chapter, or by the modernized advancement of scientific knowledge without the help of God or demigod, are illusory only, for despite all such plans for happiness, the conditioned living being within the compass of material creation can never solve the problems of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. The history of the universe is full of such plan makers, and many kings and emperors come and go, leaving a plan making story only. But the prime problems of life remain unsolved despite all endeavors by such plan makers. Actually, human life is meant for making a solution to the problems of life. One can never solve such problem by satisfying the different demigods, by different modes of worship, or by so-called scientific advancement in knowledge without the help of God or the demigods. Apart from the gross materialists who care very little either for God or for the demigods, the Vedas recommend worship of different demigods for different benefits. And so the demigods are neither false nor imaginary. The demigods are as factual as we are, but they are much more powerful due to their being engaged in the direct service of the Lord in managing different departments in the universal government. The Bhagavad Gita affirms this, and then the different planets of the demigods are mentioned there, including the one of the supreme demigod, Lord Brahma. The gross materialists do not believe in the existence of God or the demigods, nor do they believe the different planets are dominated by different demigods. They're creating a great commotion about reaching the closest celestial body, Chandraloka or the moon. But even after much mechanical research, they have only very scanty information of this moon. And in spite of such false advertisement for selling land on the moon, the puffed up scientists, gross materials cannot live there, or to speak of reaching the other planets, which they are unable even to count. However, the followers of the Vedas have a different method of acquiring knowledge. They accept the statements of the Vedic literatures as authority in toto, as we have already discussed in Canto 1. Therefore, they have full and reasonable knowledge of God and demigods and of their different residential planets situated within the compass of the material world and beyond the limit of the material sky. The most authentic Vedic literature, accepted by the great Indian acharyas like Shankar, Ramanuj, Madhav, Vishnu Swami, Nimbark, and Chaitanya, and studied by all the important personalities of the world, is the Bhagavad Gita, in which the worship of the demigods and their respective residential planets are mentioned. Bhagavad Gita 9.25 affirms, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan
Prabhu, I think because this purport is very large, so maybe we can pause here if you want to say something, and then someone else can read the rest.
Yes, Mataji. So here the translation is saying that the highest perfectional benediction is the attraction to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that can only be attained by the association of the pure devotees of the Lord. And Prabhupada is mentioning here that there are different kinds of people that they try to find happiness either in modern technical gadgets or by worshipping the demigods and thinking that they can get all these material things. They're trying to be happy in this material world, but they're not solutioning for the things which we have in this material world, which is the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So everybody comes with a great plan, but they fail because the material world is dukkhale ashashvatam. They don't realize this, and they're not making the plans to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord so that they can get away from this material world and go to the spiritual world. So here even Prabhupada has mentioned about people going to Chandraloka and trying to find and sell land on the moon. But we are so, like scientists and other people are so not advanced that they cannot even understand how many planets are there. So in a sense, we have to look to scriptures, which give us the true picture of our Vedic cosmology. There are a lot of details about the planets of the demigods there, and how to, even if we want to get to the demigods planets, it's mentioned that you, as per the Bhagavad Gita, that you worship the demigods, you get there. So if you want to get there, there is a process listed. They're not like you take thousands of years in the rockets to get there, but our ultimate destination should be just to get to the spiritual world and be away from this material sky. That's all Mataji had to say.
Yeah. So basically, one has to, what I am getting from this purport, that basically we should see that what is the real problem of life, right? And how should our plans be for that problem of life, right? So basically, by worshipping demigods and all, what kind of plans are we making for sense enjoyment to stay in this material world only, right? So real problem is birth, old age, disease, and death, and that can only be solved by actually not having material desires. Yeah, and for that we don't need to worship demigod. I mean, we should respect demigod but not worship demigod. So, and also another thing that comes out of the purport is that we should see the relationship also. What are these demigods, right? We should also see whom we are worshipping, who they are, and what they can give us. Can they solve the real problem of life? No. So where is that solution for real problem of life, which is that worshipping the Supreme Lord? And that fixity will come from association of pure devotees. So that is how important the association of pure devotees is. All right, so maybe we can continue the purport. Someone wants to read?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, sure. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yanti deva vrata devan, pitran yanti pitravrata, bhutani yanti bhutechya, yanti mad yagno api mam. The worshippers of demigods reach the respective planets of the demigods, and the worshippers of forefathers reach the planets of the forefathers. The gross materialist remains in the different material planets, but the devotees of the Lord reach the kingdom of God. We also have information from the Bhagavad Gita that all the planets within the material world, including Brahmaloka, are but temporarily situated, and after a fixed period, they are all annihilated. Therefore, the demigods and their followers are all annihilated at the period of devastation. But one who reaches the kingdom of God gets a permanent share in eternal life. That is the verdict of Vedic literature. The worshippers of the demigods have one facility more than the unbelievers due to their being convinced of the Vedic version, by which they can get information of the benefit of the worshipping of the Supreme Lord in the association of the devotees of the Lord. The gross materialist, however, without any faith in the Vedic version, remain eternally in darkness, driven by a false conviction or on the basis of imperfect experimental knowledge or so-called material science, which can never reach into the realm of transcendental knowledge. Therefore, unless the gross materialist or the worshippers of the temporary demigods come in contact with the transcendentalists like the pure devotees of the Lord, their attempts are simply a waste of energy. Only by the grace of the divine personalities, the pure devotees of the Lord, can one achieve pure devotion, which is the highest perfection of human life. Only a pure devotees of the Lord can so one the right way of progressive life. Otherwise, both the materialistic way of life, without any information of God or the demigods, and the life engaged in the worship of demigods, in pursuit of temporary material enjoyments, are different phases of phantasmagoria. They are nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita also, but the Bhagavad Gita can be understood in the association of pure devotees only, and not by the interpretations of politicians or dry philosophical speculators. Hari Bol.
Oh, yeah, Mataji, you want to say something?
Yeah, so here Srila Prabhupada further explaining. So whoever worship the demigods, they go to the demigod planets, but who worship the Supreme Lord, they can go to the Supreme Abode. That one we know by the Bhagavad Gita. And so that's why we can understand this knowledge only by the association of pure devotees. Otherwise, these materialistic people, because this Brahmaloka and all other planets are temporary, and eventually they are annihilated. But whoever go to the Supreme Abode, they are eternal. So if we worship the Supreme Lord in the association of devotees, we understand this real knowledge. We can get the perfection of the human life. Right? Anyway, we can understand this Bhagavad Gita with the association of devotees, by the pure devotees.
Yeah. And there is another thing also, that very important point that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, the difference between the worshipper of demigods and those who have no belief in the scriptures or any authority, basically. So the worshippers of the demigod have one facility more than unbelievers due to their being convinced of the Vedic version, because demigod worshipper, at least they follow the Vedas, right?
Yeah.
They are following the authority. So after some time, they will understand. After some time, they might get purity, right? By which they can get information of the benefit of worshipping the Supreme Lord in the association of devotees of the Lord. So just like I was thinking of that lady, the airport, Shubh Vilas Prabhu posted that video today, right? Because she she is genuinely worshipping God, and somehow today she got the highest mantra.
Yes.
Yeah, so means that everything that we are reading is practical. It's not just theory. It is happening. Yeah, that it's nothing is false. Basically, it's proven, and even in this age of Kali, everything is proven true. Whatever Srila Prabhupada writes, right? So the gross materialist, however, without any faith in the Vedic version, remains eternally in darkness, driven by the false conviction on the basis of imperfect experimental knowledge or so-called material science, which can never reach into the realm of transcendental. So basically, better than the scientists who don't have any belief in God or any Vedas or any Vedic knowledge, it's at least demigod worshippers are better than them. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, and another thing is that association of devotees is the only by the grace of divine personality. So basically, it's our great fortune that somehow or the other we got only by the grace of divine personality, the pure devotees of the Lord, can one achieve pure devotion, which is the highest perfection of human life. Right? So how valuable is that association of devotees is how we are so fortunate. So always we can have that gratitude in our heart that somehow or the other we got Srila Prabhupada's and we got the association of devotees. Yeah, yeah, so always being grateful, because gratitude is the seed for love. When it becomes dense and condensed, then it is actually love. Yeah. All right. So should we move on to the next verse?
I can.
Go ahead. Either of you. What happened?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Jnanam yad aprati gunormi chakram atma prasada uta yatra gunesha asanga kevalya samata pathastav bhakti yoga ko nirvitro hari kathasu ratinna kuriyat. Translation Prabhupada Prabhupada ki Jai. Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment. In being transcendental, it is approved by its authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? Purport. According to Bhagavad Gita, the characteristics of pure devotees are wonderful. The complete functional activities of a pure devotee are always engaged. The complete functional activities of pure devotee are always engaged in the service of the Lord. And thus the pure devotees exchange feelings of ecstasy between themselves and relish transcendental bliss. This transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional practice, sadhana avastha, if properly undertaken under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And in the matured stage, the developed transcendental feeling culminates in realization of the particular relationship with the Lord, by which a living entity is originally constituted, up to the relationship of conjugal love, and thus conjugal love with the Lord, which is estimated to be the highest transcendental bliss. Thus, Bhakti Yoga, being the only means of God realization, is Kevalya. Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the Vedic version, Eko Narayana Deva Para Varanam Parama Aste Kevalya Samjnita. In this connection, and establishes that Narayan, the personality of Godhead, is known as Kevalya, and the means which enables one to approach the Lord is called Kevalya Pantha, or the only means of attainment of Godhead. This Kevalya Pantha runs from Sravana, or hearing topics that relate to the personality of Godhead, and the natural consequences of hearing such Harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge, which causes detachment from all mundane topics for which a devotee has no taste at all. For a devotee, all mundane activities, social and political, become unattractive, and in the mature state, such a devotee becomes uninterested even in his own body, what to speak of bodily relatives. In such a state of affairs, one is not agitated by the waves of material modes. There are different modes of material nature and all mundane functions in which a common man is very much interested, or in which he takes part, becomes unattractive for the devotee. This state of affairs is
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I think he dropped off. No.
Is there? We cannot hear him.
Yeah, Prabhu, we can. Yeah,
cannot.
It came back now. Yeah.
Okay, so should I say there are different modes of?
Where it is here, it is the first part. It was here, Prabhu, that this state of affairs is described herein as Prati Nivratta Gunormi.
Okay, and it is possible by Atma Prasada, or self, or complete self-satisfaction without any material connection. The first-class devotee of the Lord attains this stage by devotional service, despite his loftiness. For the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the volunteer part of a preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into devotional service, even mundane interest, just to give up the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into transcendental bliss. Ilarupa Goswami has described this action of a pure devotee as Nirbandhana Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Even mundane activities dovetail with service to the Lord are also calculated to be transcendental or approved Kevalya affairs.
Very good. Yeah, you want to say something, Prabhu?
Yeah, Mataji, long purport. That's in the translation. Is saying the transcendental knowledge in relation to the Supreme Lord is knowledge resulting from complete suspension of the waves in the whirlpools of material interest. So once a person is advanced and it's on the transcendental platform, then this material, the modes of material nature doesn't touch him, and his interest becomes only transcendental. He is not even at one point. He doesn't even care for his own body, let alone relatives. And yeah, that's all I can say, Mataji. I mean, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. So see, I was just mesmerized by the sentence that Srila Prabhupada writes here. That transcendental knowledge in relation with Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in, meaning actually whatever knowledge we acquire from whatever way, it will be transcendental only and only if by hearing that and applying that complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes are gone. There is complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of material modes happen. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to being free from material attachment. So satisfaction, again, and that meaning comes here, that satisfaction only and only can come when there is no effect or attachment, material attachment, or when we are not affected by the modes. And being transcendental, it is approved by authorities who could fail to be attracted. So basically, it is attractive for everyone, like the in Nectar of Devotion, we see that there are the what happens when one engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, right? Kleshagni, Shubda, those symptoms are there, right? immediately the sinful tendencies are gone. Kleshagni, all that is troublesome goes away. Shubda, it is always good for everyone, for in every circumstance. So actually, I mean, this transcendental knowledge, and yesterday there was a very nice class in the temple, the Sunday feast class, very, very beautiful class. So get a chance to hear, you should hear that. So that class was on Bhagavad Gita 439. So let me pull up that verse and tell you why I think of that is because of the transcendental knowledge. So that the transcendental knowledge, right now we all have this transcendental knowledge in front of us in the form of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the other books that Srila Prabhupada has given us, but we have not realized it. How to realize it is given in this verse, that with faith, a faithful man who is dedicated to the transcendental knowledge. Okay, right now that knowledge is theoretical for us. We don't know, means we have not applied it and we have not realized it. So what to do? Faithfully and full dedication, we apply that knowledge, we seek that knowledge and then act on that knowledge. And who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, meaning realization. So this such knowledge means that is realization. So three things we have to do. We have to faithfully dedicate ourselves to this transcendental knowledge and control our senses. Then we will have that realization of the knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So then only we can have that satisfaction and that peacefulness. Otherwise, our mind will keep bothering us all the time. And then he gave a very nice example of Srila Haridas Thakur, that how Haridas Thakur was completely following this actually, right? Even though he was beaten in 24 marketplace, even then his chanting didn't stop. He was faithful. Many times what happens is when some reversal happens, our faith dies, our faith fluctuates. So, but no, and then for that, we have to see examples like Srila Haridas Thakur. And what was the end result? He was such a dear associate of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and became Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. So, and he attained the supreme reward. So we should have these examples in front of us when our faith is fragile, when it moves based on the circumstances and situations. And also then he gives an example of chanting japa. When we are chanting, our mind wanders and our senses are asking us, oh, let me get up, let me maybe take little rest. And in the middle of the japa, we start doing so many things, right? So then he said, this sense control in the subdue the senses, he said, we should actually wait. We should not give in to the senses immediately. We should just tolerate it and see then what happens. Then what happens? Mind will calm down. And then I was talking to this Prabhu, and then I was saying, then because then what happens is when we try to control the senses and not act on them, then that we get that little taste in chanting, little attraction. And then, of course, mind will subside. So to have this really, like, I really like that the way he explained that, meaning the whole discussion about this verse. And it just came up because we are talking about transcendental knowledge here. And then Srila Prabhupada and then who could fail to be attracted? Actually, this devotional service is attracted, but then we say, oh, many people don't take it. But then it also depends on how we present it to others. So we have to present according to time, place, and circumstance, and also the other person. So meaning we should get it and then we should share with others. That sharing has to happen. But for that, our own sadhana has to be strong, and then we can do the preaching part. And also Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he is describing this 10th chapter, verse number 9. This is Machita Madgata Prana Bodhayantas Parasparam. What is that? Kathyantasya Mam Nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. That is the word Srila Prabhupada is quoting here. So he is describing about the one who is in that knowledge and who is discussing about that, like here, that is what he is saying, that about Supreme Hari, that knowledge resulting in complete suspension. He is describing, yes, in Bhagavad Gita also we see that those devotees are always tushyanti cha ramanti cha, right? Yeah. So then what does he say? Yeah, the transcendental bliss is experienced basically, and we all have some experience of it. Yes, we all have that some experience. The transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional practice sadhana. We hear the qualities of what happens in nectar of devotion in sadhana stage. That is, we feel that satisfaction, right? The bliss comes. All of us have that, like all of us have experienced that. So that is actually something. And in the mature stage, we will have the complete love and dedication, and spontaneous it will become. We don't have to, I have to get up, I have to at least chant my 16 rounds like that. It won't be like that. And this last part of the purport, this state of affairs is described herein as pratinivratta gunormi, and it is possible by Atma Prasad, or complete self-satisfaction without any material connection. So that complete satisfaction can come only when there is no material desire. Then when there is only desire to serve Krishna selflessly, that selflessness has to be there. The first class devotee of the Lord attains this stage by devotional service, but despite his loftiness, for the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the voluntary part of preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into devotional service, even mundane interest. So this is the part that we are supposed to do. Even mundane interest, just to give the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into trance. So that is what, like, when we meet people, no matter what their likings are and all, somehow we should be intelligent that how this can be engaged in Krishna service. And then they will develop that taste by that. Then because when something we do for Krishna, then we will feel that satisfaction, right? Like,
Yes.
for example, somebody has a very good voice, but they are singing some mundane love song. So if we transform into singing bhajans for Krishna, then of course they will feel deep satisfaction and love. And this Yukta Vairagya principle, anasaktasya vishyan yatharam yunjita nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya muchyate. So meaning it's not that we should reject, oh, this is not this is material, this is Maya, I should not touch it. Like Srila Prabhupada gives example that many impersonalists, they won't touch the money. And Srila Prabhupada would say, oh, give it to me, I'll use it in Krishna service. Right? All these dictaphone machines and all, okay, I'm going to use it in Krishna service. That is Yukta Vairagya. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, one of the principles that he emphasized and taught is Yukta Vairagya. The sannyasi is not supposed to wear woven coats and all, but he wore it. A sannyasi is not supposed to travel in the vehicles, but he did, and in a convertible. Just to teach us that Yukta Vairagya. He is using it for Krishna service. So that Yukta Vairagya principle is very, very important. And once we dovetail our interest, bring Krishna in that, then we will start feeling that satisfaction, even if it is a mundane act. So we need to somehow see what are my tendencies, and then try to, like, if we can't figure it out ourselves, then we can discuss it with some superiors, like some other Vaishnavas who probably can help us, like, okay, this is my tendency, this is what I do. Like, for example, some people have this habit of browsing too much and too much Facebook and WhatsApp and all that stuff. So we can discuss, like, okay, how should I stop wasting my time in this one and dovetail it in Krishna service. Like, for example, I can tell about myself. So I used to do stocks, and I used to do this Yahoo Finance thing and all that stuff. So then, but at that time, I got to know about vedabase.net. That time it used to be vedabase.net. I started reading Bhagavad Gita, and then then I would, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, I would read, and then I don't have time to browse the stocks and all that. So, I mean, this is way back in 2006, then when I came to know about vedabase.net. Yeah, so we need to find out our time wasters and our mundane activities, and then somehow dovetail it to connect to Krishna. And also another thing, like, whatever is going on in the world and whatever is going on around us, like everybody has something or the other problem. So we don't want to talk, right? So that should create an emergency thing in us that, oh, I don't want to waste a moment of my time. Yeah, it's not that we don't take care of the things, but do it, but we need to cultivate that how it is related to Krishna. We have to do groceries, but do it for Krishna. We have to clean the house, do it for Krishna. We have to laundry and keep clean and all that stuff, do it for Krishna. I am saying to myself, not to you all. I hope I understand it and I do it. Okay, so should we go on to the next verse? Oh yeah, this is a new section from 13 to 25. Now, this actually Shonka Rishi inspires Sutta Goswami to speak more. So we will see that now Shonka Rishi, oh, this is from 13th, yeah. So from now 13 to 25, Shonka Rishi wants Sutta Goswami to speak more. So this is a story in a story, right? So earlier Sukadeva Goswami was speaking, but this is the narration that Sutta Goswami is giving the sages of Nimisharanya. Right. So all right. So let's do this verse also. Someone would Neha?
Yes, Mataji. Very good. Text 13. Shonaka Uvacha Iti Abhivyaharatam Raja Nishamya Bharat Rishabh Kimanyata Prashtavan Bhuyo Vyasikim Rashim Kavim. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shonaka said, the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadev Goswami, was a high learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord automatically develops all godly qualities, and some of the prominent features of those qualities are as follows. He is kind, peaceful, truthful, equable, faultless, magnanimous, mild, clean, non-possessive, a well-wisher to all, satisfied, surrendered to Krishna, without hankering, simple, fixed, self-controlled, a balanced eater, sane, mannerly, prideless, grave, sympathetic, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. Out of these 26 prominent features of a devotee, as described by Krishna Das Kaviraj in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. The qualification of being poetic is especially mentioned herein in relation to Sukadev Goswami. The presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam by his recitation is the highest poetic contribution. He was a self-realized learned sage. In other words, he was a poet amongst the sages. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, you want to say something?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Mataji, it's like beginning of a next section where Shonaka Rishi is saying that Shukadev Goswami was a very learned poet, like, and the whole Bhagavatam he has done it in a poetic manner. And in purport, Srila Prabhupada has beautifully explained, the from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the 26 prominent features of a devotee, and one of them is the to be a poet.
Kavi.
Yeah, and then Shukadev Goswami is a poet amongst the sages.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So see here, the sages are basically very inquisitive. They want to hear more and more and more. So that is like, and also I was hearing actually somehow I kind of what happened today that I started listening to my Guru Maharaj's South India Yatra lectures. So it was first lecture, he was speaking about the setting the mood. So there he was speaking about, like, because when we go for yatras, there is a lot of opportunity to hear, and also like the Vaishnava Seva, because generally means Maharaj emphasizes on Vaishnava Seva when we go for Dham. Whenever there is an opportunity, we should be kind and we should be serving the devotees and we should be listening and all. Then he was mentioning about that Srila Ramanujacharya, Shripad Ramanujacharya says that if we see a quality in a devotee and if we glorify that quality and if we like speak about it, if we hear about those qualities becomes ours, right? So these rishis, they are actually, see, like if we think of them, we can see that they have such a great taste for hearing, so that quality can become ours. So in that context, yeah. So and also there is a verse in 5th canto, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarver Gune Tatra Samasate Sura, right? Meaning when we engage in the devotional service of the Lord, then all the good qualities of demigods become the quality of that person, right? But those who are not the devotees, so they are Manorathena Dhavato Bahi, right? They are on the chariot of their mind, basically mental concoction. So should we do one more verse or should we, this is big, or we can chant around, whatever everybody says.
You can chant, Mataji. Mataji, I just have one question. So
Yeah.
you just said that by listening to the qualities of devotees, or it can become yours. Like
So basically, if we, okay, so this is a truth, that if we appreciate, if we see somebody having some qualities and we appreciate, then we feel about that, oh, I want to have that quality, right? And if we genuinely appreciate that and if we genuinely speak about it, then we are kind of getting it, right?
Yeah, like it inspires you to become like them.
Yeah. Krishna is pleased when he sees that somebody is glorifying his devotee, somebody is feeling happy when they see this devotee and they are seeing such a good thing in my devotee. Krishna decorates, right? We cannot get any quality. It happens when Krishna is pleased, when we are pleased. It happens only and only then. We cannot get anything by ourselves, basically. Ourself is only that we have to put our efforts. We have to make a free will choice on the right side. That's the only thing we can do.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, so should we chant around? Okay, so
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, I would like to share something.
yeah, Mataji, please.
Yeah, like I saw some of the Maharaj and their servants. So that servants who closely serve to their Guru Maharaj, So I see that Guru Maharaj quality in their servant, like just
Yeah,
you explained.
yeah,
Exactly, I saw some of the servants when they are very lovely to serve their Guru Maharaj, I see
yeah.
the servants also have the same quality like that Guru.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's really true.
Yeah. Yes, this is true. I mean, if we really think and contemplate